Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we're up to the middle of independence. We go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun. All right, guys. Today is date September 21st, 2022, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan on the Frack right here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before we do get started, guys, we do try to watch our language on here most of the time, and that sometimes there may be things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers. So viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, not a lot to get to in the middle of the week. I mean, it is hump day after all, but as of today, we did have some surprising news. Very surprising, because I didn't think we'd hear anything about this case, considering its genesis as of last year. But it seems today that Manhattan DA Letitia James, Attorney General Letitia James has moved forward and decided to do the one thing that we all knew was coming.
Criminal law, including issuing false statements to financial institutions and bank fraud. And we are referring those criminal violations that we've uncovered to the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York and the Internal Revenue Service. As a result of these violations, we are asking the court to, among other things, permanently bar Mr. Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, from serving as an officer or director in any corporation or similar entity registered and or licensed in New York. To bar Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization from entering into any New York State commercial real estate acquisition or from applying for loans from any financial institution in New York for 5 years. To pay for the financial benefits obtained as a result of the persistent fraudulent practices at an estimated $250 million.
And that got away from me. I apologize. So, again, New York Attorney General, New York General Walker has James came out and sat there and said the one thing that we all knew was coming. That yes, did Donald Trump falsify his holdings in order to make himself seem richer in order to pad his portfolio? We've been saying that since the New York Times was able to get a hold of 20-year-old tax returns that Donald Trump had put in, where he literally wrote off $1 billion in losses. Now you got to think, a guy that can write off $1 billion in losses is now about to be sued by the state of New York, which now has damning information that is not only going to use that in a court case, but is going to give it to other government enforcement agencies to look into. I'm not saying it's about time, but it's about time that we actually saw something come out of this. Now, keep in mind, Trump is still facing a buttload of other things going on. Most importantly, the Department of Justice, of course, with the documents that he was asked to return, that he was never allowed to have, that he thought he could declassify, but he couldn't declassify because nobody in his administration, when he left, didn't read the Constitution. So therefore, he's still in that mess. Combine that with several other lawsuits he's currently facing, including the campaign election fraud that's in Georgia. He's also a part of. If you are Donald Trump's lawyer right now, it's Christmas for you, because for the simple fact of the matter, for all those that don't know, the PACs are actually paying for his lawyer. Trump's not paying for his lawyer. His PAC is. And that alone should tell you something. But here's the thing about the failure in chief. I keep saying this entire time, what is it going to take for this man to finally go down? I mean, forget the fact he was caught with top secret documents. Forget the fact that he has defrauded multiple people and businesses. Forget the fact that he's defrauded the IRS, the one government entity that you do not want to defraud. The one. Because anybody can tell you the IRS literally is it's 100% cold game. You do not want to be on the IRS's radar, considering the fact of the reach that they have, especially when it comes to finances. They can seize anything at any given time and leave you hungry, stranded out in the cold. And now the Attorney General has just given them information to sit there and go, here's what we found, IRS. Feel free. Here's what we found out, SEC. Go ahead. You don't think for one second that you, again, keep in mind, this is of course at a state level, but if they're so confident that they're seeking damages, that must mean that there is a smoking gun, and that must mean that there's more than one. And if that is the case, can we finally say that Trump's 2024 dreams may actually be up in smoke? Hard to say. But one thing that definitely cannot be disputed is that eventually he is going to have to pay. You know, they keep on calling him Teflon Don, but, you know, even Capone went down eventually. But I'm just surprised they actually did announce that today. And again, the DOJ is still having this fight about the special master because Donald Trump believes, and his camp believes, that he was able to hold documents. I'm sorry, but I cannot trust a compromised president who has said many a times his love for China, his love for dictatorships, and his love for Putin, love-hate relationship, if you call it. The simple fact of the matter is he is a compromised president, a former compromised, he's still a compromised president, but a former compromised one. Now with documents, no telling what they are. But I do know one thing, as I keep saying, when the FBI has to get special clearance to see said documents, that means that for the simple fact of the matter, it is something that he in his current possession cannot have. That's all I'm saying. But moving right along, guys, I did want to get to Biden because Biden did actually have a couple of bits so far this week. This one, let's just call it, when you can't get rid of Citizens United, go Plan B.
This week, the Senate's going to vote on the Disclosure Act. House Democrats already approved this act, and Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island helped write this bill as well. Here's some of the things it would do. Advocacy groups that run ads to influence elections would have to disclose any contribution above $10,000 that they receive. And foreign entities would be banned from making any contributions for these ads, period. Republicans should join Democrats to pass the Disclosure Act and get it on my desk right away. Dark money has become so common in our politics. I believe sunlight is the best disinfectant, and I acknowledge it's an issue for both parties. But here's the key difference. Democrats in the Congress support more openness and accountability. Republicans in Congress so far don't. I hope they'll come around. They should follow the lead of Republican governors and state legislatures in Tennessee and Wyoming that have passed disclosure laws. Let's remember, getting dark money out of our politics has been a bipartisan issue in the past. My deceased friend John McCain spent a lot of time fighting for campaign finance reform. For him, it was a matter of fundamental fairness, and he was 100% right about that. Ultimately, this comes down to public trust. Dark money erodes public trust. We need to protect public trust.
So let's stop right there. As much as I want to give Biden credit, trying to actually get money out of politics has never been bipartisan. Never has been. He is right. It is a problem on both sides because politicians and money that you're not going to get rid of until something drastic happens. Where either that you have a whole bunch of progressives or the fact that it's taken out of the hands of politicians and back to the people to sit there and say, no, you guys can't make the decision because we elect you. We make the decision for you. Because this is the reason why Citizens United, for all those that don't know, feel free to look this up. Citizens United allowed what is actually what's going on right now. It allowed a crap load of money to be funneled into politics, and you don't have to report who did it. You don't. You can go through donors, you can go through PACs. That's what Citizens United is about. That they can literally give money but not be identified. You can go as anonymous as anonymous as you like, and that's the problem. Not only is the problem the fact that you can report it anonymously, it's the fact if you really think about it, and if you think about the past campaigns, think about the previous elections, think about this upcoming midterm election that we're not too far off from, 2 months away from. Think about this for 1 second. The fact of the matter is just that all this money being funneled in for campaigns for individuals. And keep in mind, this is the reason why a lot of politicians suspend campaigns, because due to campaign laws, if you suspend a campaign, you don't have to give that money back. It sits there. It sits there in a fund that is only used for campaign purposes, but they don't get the money back. They don't have to give the money back. It could sit there for until they decide to either suspend until they decide to go from suspending their campaign to ending their campaign. Once the campaign is ended, the money does have to be given back. But the problem is with this Disclosure Act is don't expect Republicans to hop on this train. In the same sense, don't expect a lot of Democrats to hop on this train. Sure, there are some Democrats that have spoken out and said we need to get rid of all the dark money out of Congress. But you don't hear anybody, and I do mean anybody, because I have yet to hear outside of a particular. Actually, I take it back. Outside of one senator, Bernie Sanders sat there and said that we just need to overturn Citizens United. We need to overturn it. If anything that needs to be overturned, because Citizens United was a Supreme Court ruling. If there's anything that needs to be overturned, Citizens United is definitely one of them. Because the simple fact of the matter, guys, is that is the true way to get money out of Congress. Another way to get money out of Congress is to not let politicians decide on what they can or can't do. If one senator and one representative were willing, they would sit there and say, well, this can't be up to us. This has to be up to the American people. Let's put that on the ballot for this midterm and allow them to vote on it. Because at that point, if you put it in the people's hands to decide what politicians can or can't do, then that's on us. That's on us because we are not fulfilling our civic duty to vote. But if we leave it in the hands of politicians to decide what they can or cannot do, then 9 times out of 10, it will basically never make it. Never will. If you sit there and tell politicians tomorrow, hey, I want a bill put in that pretty much says that you guys, as long as you're in office, you cannot have access to stocks and bonds. To stocks, bonds, trading, you have no access to Wall Street whatsoever. But they'll sit there and say, but we put all our stuff with a third party that manages it without us. But when you come out of office, those things are accessible to you. And again, the temptation of the fact of the matter is those guys in Congress get Wall Street information faster than anybody else. So, of course, they can make decisions. But imagine that if you are in office and you are working for the people, that you cannot have stocks, whether it's by a third party or anybody else. You are forbidden to do any type of trading. Imagine how that would go well if that was introduced in a bill. Do you think any of those politicians would vote for that? Hell no. Because you know why? They know they're making too much money off of it. In the same sense where if you turn around and said, well, let's ban lobbying in elections. Do you think any of those politicians, whether Democrat or Republican, are going to vote for that? No. It's their bread and butter. It's their endorsements. That's why I sit there and say, if you really think about it, getting into politics is better than getting into sports because you can maximize your little income for very little risk and injury to your body. But I give Biden credit. I give Biden credit that he is trying to turn around and say, look, we got to do something about this. Dark money needs a little bit of sunshine that, clears the infection. Okay, weird. I get it. Make sure I make an analogy. But I do believe one or two things. One, you cannot leave this in the hand of politicians. Politicians put this in the hands of American citizens to vote on. And two, be honest. Overturn Citizens United. If you overturn Citizens United, that's just one step of finally getting the money out of dark money, whether it's dark or light or whatever analogy you try to go with. But the fact of the matter, if you get money out of politics and actually start doing some things with the Senate and the House, like actually putting in consecutive term limits, similar to the president, like actually banning them for their terms as either a senator or representative, that they cannot have any stocks whatsoever via third party or otherwise. If we start putting in those restrictions for our elected officials, things would change overnight. Just saying. But the other thing I want to catch about Biden was saying is that Biden was recently at the UN, and he sat there and said something that we as Americans should be very concerned about. For the simple fact of the matter is, guys, I keep saying this all the time, that Biden, it's amazing the level of attention that he has to certain things, but compared to other things, it's night and effing day. What I mean by that is, you guys do know that we are all anxiously awaiting the student loan debt forgiveness program, in which Biden did keep his promise. He did want to say he wanted to forgive up to $10,000, up to $20,000 if you have a Pell Grant, of some people's student loan debt. He's already, for some for-profit colleges, for some disabled individuals, forgiven their debts in exclusivity, but there are still a great number of us that don't fall under those parameters, and still have well over anywhere from 20 almost up to over $100,000 of student loans that we don't see no end in, because student loans have prevented a lot of people from either getting cars, becoming homeowners, and becoming eternal renters, just because of that. But again, that was a hit or miss, because we kept on saying the entire time that Biden needs to go ahead and forgive the student loan debt in its entirety, which he said he would not do, because he still believes that somewhere deep down, Americans can still somehow pay the student loan debt, even though minimum wage hasn't increased since 2009. That being said, however, at the UN, Biden did declare that the U.S. Will announce a commitment of $2.9 billion in global food aid to address the growing famine in the Horn of Africa, rising food prices worldwide due to the war in Ukraine, and inflation. So, as Americans, our president, commander-in-chief, is now issuing a commitment of $2.9 billion in global food aid. All I can sit there and say is, okay, let's do some math here. Because we've already given nearly $1.8 billion to Ukraine in humanitarian and military packages. We've already given foreign aid money by the billions. And don't get me wrong, I would love to be able to help out other countries, but President Biden, with all due respect, you might want to help out your own first before we start giving out almost $3 billion to help out other wares. Because again, prices in America have gone up. Inflation, which again, we're going to cover that a little bit, still high. Everything has gone up but your paycheck. But again, Biden seems to be this charitable person when it comes overseas. But when it comes to your own constituents that you're voting for, yeah, you kind of pretty much tell us that we have to make some concessions. And again, as the midterms are coming up in November, it's amazing to me that Democrats have the ability to actually do a landslide. But again, it just seems that Biden just wants to keep going that moderate Democrat Republican light position. Unless it's overseas, because overseas he's Daddy Warbucks. But over here, he's pretty much the dad from Everybody Loves Chris, except he's white. That's all I'm saying. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover the story as well. I did cover it last week about Governor Ron DeSantis, along with Texas Governor Greg Abbott, flying immigrants, flying those who cross the border to more popular spots. Of course, Greg Abbott flew people to the Madam Vice President's residence, the Naval Observatory. Governor DeSantis decided to be a little bit more petty and send individuals to Martha's Vineyard, a very posh upper society neighborhood. Well, it seems like there may be some issues with that, as there is some local law enforcement, that is looking into possible criminal activity for what these governors are doing.
Let's just take a moment to listen to Governor DeSantis and then a few facts on the other side.
They all signed consent forms to go, and then the vendor that is doing this for Florida provided them with a packet that had a map of Martha's Vineyard. It had the numbers for different services on Martha's Vineyard. So it was clearly voluntary, and all the other nonsense you're hearing is just not true. And why wouldn't they want to go, given where they were?
So, Alana, just a few facts that are being alleged by the attorneys for some of these migrants, including the fact that they say that their clients were misled by being told that there would be cash, housing, work opportunities, travel assistance on the other side when they arrived there. Also, failing to mention that these benefits are things that are guaranteed to refugees that get refugee status outside the U.S., not asylum seekers who come here seeking asylum before a judge. And also these pamphlets saying that they were from the Office of Refugee and Immigrants that listed that phone number. That office says they don't make these pamphlets. So now the question is, who's telling the truth here?
No, I think you're exactly right, Poppy. And Axios as well spoke with many of the lawyers who were helping represent some of the migrants that were transferred to Martha's Vineyard. And they told us that a lot of these people were misled. Some of them thought they were going to Boston. Some thought they were going to New York City, and were offered, up to 8 months of cash assistance and other things that they thought they'd be getting, and they didn't. So there's a lot of discrepancies between what Governor DeSantis is saying and what the representatives and these migrants are saying as well. And I think that investigation is going to try to figure that out. And it's very problematic. I mean, I spoke with many lawmakers on Capitol Hill, many of who represent border districts. And they said the big problem with this, even worse than what we've seen, what they've seen in their words, Governor Greg Abbott and Governor Ducey in Arizona, they said that the idea of not telling these people where they're going, not asking them if they wanted to go, is really the difference between what Governor DeSantis did and some of the other governors have done.
Well, listen, we know, at least some of them are saying they didn't know where they were going. And by the way, we've all signed consent forms before, right, without reading them. I just have to imagine if there's a practical implication here as well. How many times have you clicked on I agree without knowing what the fine print says? I do want to ask you about the politics here. Do we have any indication? Listen, from a political standpoint, there's a law, set that aside for a moment. From a political standpoint, this is putting into the public eye an issue that Republicans see to their advantage in the midterms and have been trying to keep in the public eye for some time as the numbers have gone up. Is there any data to indicate at this point whether this is a winning issue for Republican lawmakers?
Haven't seen any data yet. I'm sure there's a lot of pollsters who are working on this. But I think, it's a very messy and dangerous road that Governor DeSantis went down, because you're right. At one point, I did speak with people like Senator Marco Rubio, Senator John Cornyn from Florida and Texas, respectively, who defended the idea, Cornyn saying it was a terrific idea to thrust this issue back into the national spotlight. Rubio saying, it's not the burden of these different cities and states, it's the burden of the Biden administration and the federal government. But also, I mean, if you look at Florida in particular, I think, and my colleagues spoke with some people in Florida as well, a lot of Venezuelans and Cuban Americans and those who are placed now in Florida really disgruntled and furious, really, with what Governor DeSantis did. And that's a key voting block that I know, Republicans across the country have tried to court and could be very dangerous for Governor DeSantis, particularly as, many of these, if not all of these migrants who were sent to Martha.
Okay. So as they were talking about it, guys, I apologize. I didn't catch the other part of it. Where Texas law enforcement is looking into possible criminal issues, because the fact of the matter is that as much as Governor DeSantis and Greg Abbott want to defend that, yes, they went willingly, again, if they were misled in anywhere, that could lead to criminal trespassing on behalf of the governors, which some Texas sheriffs are looking into. No word if Florida's law enforcement probably will not be looking into Governor DeSantis. But again, we will follow that story as it goes along. I mean, the simple fact of the matter is the immigration system in America is broken. Well, then again, almost every system in America is broken. But the point I'm making is just that we are a nation of immigrants. I mean, some of us who have Native American roots have been here since those tribes have been established. Some of us whose ancestors were voluntarily picked up and brought here for free labor. We know who we are. The thing about it is just that it is amazing to me that we want to now limit who comes over. It's not like America's crowded. At the same time, it is amazing to me that Republicans who could come out smelling like a rose, really, but Republicans and their party and what they stand for don't like immigrants. They don't. I have said it once and I'll say it before. The current Republican Party is for the rich old white man. It is the rich old white man and simultaneously brainwashing the blue collar ones to believe that they should be treated the same way. That's all they stand for. But I keep saying this. Republicans have a golden opportunity every year. They can sit there and say, let's work on immigration. Let's work on actually having a streamlined process versus the convoluted one we have right now, where again, you have immigrants waiting years. Keep in mind, some of them are allowed to stay in the US, but imagine waiting years to be a certified citizen. And I ask this question all the time. How is it that other countries have figured out their immigration system faster than us? That's all I'm saying. Because just like the VA system, it can be improved very easily. They just choose not to. The VA system can be improved very easily. For anyone that's served or enlisted, should be able to go anywhere, get any coverage, medication, therapy, treatment that they can use at no cost to them. For what they did for our country, they should be given unlimited medical care versus having to go to a VA or VA sanctioned hospital and still not feel any better than once they went in. But how does this compare? Both systems are broken. Both of them can be easily fixed. They just choose not to. Why? There's profit in those systems being broken. And that's the truth. There's profit in that. There's profit in immigration being broken. You know why? A lot of immigrants fly under the radar because they are not actual citizens, which help out because a lot of those immigrants are more than likely in positions of jobs that, well, not a lot of us will do. And not a lot of those employers will ask questions as long as they have labor. And that alone says a lot. That's why I said there's profit in these systems being broken. But there's not a big hurry up on getting them fixed. But still, Governor DeSantis, much like Greg Abbott, both are dicks, in my opinion. And I want to share this little tidbit again about the midterm elections because Herschel Walker has finally decided to debate Raphael Warnock. And people are saying if they're wondering, Herschel Walker had a little bit of brain aneurysm during this comment. And I say, and I disagree. Herschel Walker didn't have a brain aneurysm. He had clarity.
Talking to the voters, talking to you. You told me I got to prepare, so I'm preparing. I'm this country boy, I'm not that smart. And he's that preacher, he's a smart man, wear these nice suits. So he's going to show up and embarrass me at the debate October the 14th. And I'm just waiting, I'll show up and I'm going to do my best.
So I gotta stop it right there. I have to stop it right there. For the simple fact of the matter, Herschel Walker. Hang on, because I gotta say this with a straight face. Herschel Walker, the man who swore up and down he graduated top of his class at University of Georgia, found out that was a lie. The same guy who said he was a law enforcement agent for the FBI, found out that was a lie. Who has dodged multiple debates with Raphael Warnock. Senior Raphael Warnock has been wanting to do debates ever since it got down to where the midterm elections are happening in November. Herschel Walker has literally ducked everything. And in one interview, sat there and said, well, I'm just going to come do my best because Raphael Warnock's going to wipe the floor with me. Everybody's sitting there saying, what's wrong with Herschel Walker? Nothing is wrong with Herschel Walker. At that moment, he had a moment of clarity. Because have you listened to Herschel Walker, the same man who said Jesus was bipolar, the same man who sat there and said, whose understanding of science is that our air is mixing with China's air, going from good air to bad air. I can keep going about all the things Herschel Walker has said, but it's amazing to me, and I actually amazing and slightly scary. Amazing and slightly scary because a lot of people still back Herschel Walker. A lot of people. And I'm not just making fun of the state of Georgia. I'm just saying that what's scary is a lot of people still believe that he's perfect for Congress. These are the same people who voted Marjorie Taylor Greene in for Congress. And that woman has been removed from every committee that she's been committed to. She's literally getting paid for doing nothing except going around and talking. And now Herschel Walker is trying to join that boat. And I would hope for a better answer, but let's be honest. It might be the ass whooping that he said it would be. I just hope they televise it because I would love to see it. But move right along, guys. Again, I want to cover these stories because what's actually happening in Jackson, of course, the water crisis. We're not surprised. You guys have heard me sit there and say on previous podcasts that typically, specifically in the lower states and the southern states, infrastructure needs to woefully be updated. And the water filtration systems that we have are definitely on that list, and that because of the flooding that happened in Jackson that actually exposed the already ongoing problems the AP has pointed out, they did actually get their water pressure back. The boil notice has been lifted. However, Jackson, Mississippi residents have done something that I think other people, especially those in Flint, Michigan, should be doing as well, suing the state.
4 plaintiffs listed in the lawsuit, some who have been living in Jackson for decades and others who really just moved in. But I was able to speak to the lead plaintiff who hopes that the message from the lawsuit extends far beyond just the defendants listed.
I feel out of place. This is not normal. This has taken people out of normalcy.
Priscilla Sterling says she has had enough of the capital city's water woes. She's a school teacher who has called Jackson home for over 30 years. And now she stands as the lead plaintiff in the class action lawsuit against the city of Jackson.
This didn't start a couple weeks ago. This started years ago.
Defendants in the lawsuit include Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba, former Mayor Tony Yarber, as well as former Public Works Directors Keisha Powell, Robert Miller, and Jarriet Smash. Also listed are companies Siemens Corporation, Siemens Industry Incorporated, and Trilogy Engineering Services, LLC. The 96-page suit claims Jackson's water system was not fit for human consumption, even prior to the recent system failing, due to issues like high levels of lead and other contaminants. Something Sterling says she has had to seek medical attention for.
I've had to go to the doctor, get prescriptions because of this water. So quite naturally, and the weirdest thing, when I talk to other people, they're having the same problems too.
Other plaintiffs in the lawsuit describing their hardships with the Jackson's water, both financially and physically for their families. The suit goes on to say the defendants' actions have resulted in residents without access to clean, safe water. But still, Sterling says it's not just those names listed that should be held accountable.
The problem is beyond the local city officials. This goes back. So that's the reason why it should start with state officials.
And we did reach out to the mayor's office as well as other defendants to receive further comment, but have yet to hear back.
And are we really surprised by that? You're not going to hear back. But I love the fact of what they're doing. And if I was in Flint, Michigan, I'd be suggesting saying, which Flint, Michigan has been doing. There is loss. Now that I had to, do a quick look up, Flint, Michigan does have lawsuits out there for those that were affected that are still ongoing. A few have been settled, but there's still a few ongoing out there. But Jackson residents doing this, it needs to be. There needs to be that level of accountability that just, it has to be addressed. I mean, for you, I mean, Governor Tate, again, a man who is dodging multiple bullets right now. Fact of the matter is that his office, along with Brett Favre, has to explain why welfare funds were used to pay for $5 million that was used for welfare funds was used to pay for a new volleyball facility where his daughter plays. But Governor Tate wants to be mad at Deion Sanders and Jackson State building their own stadium, even though Deion Sanders' salary is basically most of it's being used for repairs because Deion Sanders cares about the kids. But Governor Tate is already having this issue because, again, when he was doing water pressure, everybody cannot forget the infamous water tank that sat outside the governor's mansion, while you had individuals in line for bottled water because the water that's coming out of their faucets couldn't even be used for bathing. That alone screams a lot. So if I were to be on the side of those who are suing, I hope you get everything and more, because they do need to hold these politicians, those that were in control of water filtration systems. And overall, the simple fact of the matter is this infrastructure upgrade should happen a long time ago. Hold them all accountable. That's how it should be. Move right along, guys. I didn't want to cover this because it is banned book week, because it is a thing, especially now with parents wanting to be teachers without the curriculum or the credentials or just the know-how or just lack of experience whatsoever. That with those banned books, there is a particular book out there that is currently banned that the author will speak on. And yes, it's a person of color. And yes, it's different from what a lot of traditional parents are used to.
Banned Books Week, an annual event put on by the Library Association. It celebrates the freedom and constitutional right to read, especially in the classroom. According to bannedbooksweek.org, the week launched in 1982 in response to a sudden surge in the number of challenges to books in schools, bookstores, and libraries. A new report by PEN America shows that more than 1,600 books were banned during the last school year. One of those books is All Boys Are in Blue by author George M. Johnson. George is joining us now with more. George, first and foremost, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. According to the American Library Association, All Boys Are in Blue was the third most banned book last year. It's been banned or challenged in at least 10 states. What is your response to that?
Yeah, it's been an interesting year watching the book being banned. We're actually, I think yesterday the report came out that it's actually banned in 29 districts in over 21 states. I've had multiple criminal complaints. But what I will say is, I guess it's been bittersweet to see our stories be attacked in this way, but it is also amplifying many of our stories, and I'm able to get the book out to the teen readers who really need it the most. So a lot of readers who didn't know the story existed now know that the story exists. So if there's anything I'm thankful for, it's that it's actually getting to the hands of the people who need to read it to heal from it.
Well, speaking of amplification, your book has been honored with numerous accolades, including being named a New York Times bestseller. It's a memoir about your experience growing up being Black and queer. Why do you feel it's important for students to be taught about LGBTQ representation in school? And how do you think that Banned Books Week is helping with that?
Yeah, when you see the 2019 census, it's very clear that Gen Z is the most diverse population we've ever had, with between 15 and 20% of them already reporting as LGBTQ. So it's extremely important that our curriculum starts to mirror what our actual school systems look like. And so having LGBTQ literature, LGBTQ history, it allows students to know that, one, LGBTQ people have always existed as we've been here since the beginning of time. And two, it helps build empathy and build bridges between heterosexual students and queer students who will all have to exist in the same space one day as they become adults. Banned Book Week, it highlights the books that are being challenged the most, but it also talks about how we have to be careful about going down this dangerous road of censorship. Everyone should be allowed to be seen and represented in the books that they read in a way that I wasn't when I was a teenager.
George, many of these bills that have banned books like yours are pitched on the basis that they advocate for parents. So how do you respond to people who say this kind of legislation gives parents a say in their children's education?
Yeah, I don't think the authors or the librarians have an issue with parents having a say in their children's education. What we take issue with is when one or two parents think that their opinion should outweigh the other 20 parents who feel that their students should have access to the books. So that's really what the issue is. This really isn't an issue of parental oversight or us saying that parents shouldn't be involved in their students' education. My parents were involved. My parents bought me books to read when I was growing up. So we're not saying that at all. But what we are saying is no parent's one opinion of what they want their child to read should outweigh the vast majority of parents who are saying we want our students to read more diverse books and to read books about people who come from different cultures and different identities and different backgrounds.
George, what are the broader implications of these measures, ones that could be seen in public education at large?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it starts to take us down a road of decimating the public school system. I am a product of both public schooling and private schooling, so I know how important the public school system was to me and to my family. But it also goes down this road of the removal of civil rights. Once we start to say that, we take these books out of school systems and we're basically telling these students that your story shouldn't exist here, and then we're starting to see laws that say, well, you shouldn't have any rights. So we're starting to go down this dangerous path of where we're just removing people from existence in many ways. And we're, again, removing their rights, removing any literature that discusses who they are and what they are. And it really takes us down the dangerous path of our past when we had no civil rights as Black folks.
George, thank you so much for the time.
And he didn't miss at all. I mean, it's amazing to me that, of course, All Boys Aren't Blue, which is basically, it's an experience that, it's, how can I put this ever so nicely? It's perspective. It really is. It's perspective. It's perspective to where it's a different experience. And I keep saying this all the time with different experiences. Cultural awareness is such a big thing. Just like teaching history, cultural awareness is a big thing. And I always say, teach it to kids. If you teach kids cultural awareness at a young age, you will not have the idiots that are walking around right now. And yes, I say idiots because if you got something against Black people, you were taught it. You were taught it. It wasn't genetic, it wasn't genetic, it wasn't hereditary, it was taught to you. And I keep saying this all the time. The reason why there's such a stigma out there as far as those in the LGBT plus community that are afraid to come out, afraid to tell somebody because they just want to be accepted. We all want to be accepted, not just LGBTQ plus people. We all want to be accepted. That's us as society. That's us as humans. Us as humans, we want to be accepted by other humans. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's the amazing part that we can use literature, we can use books, we can use video games, we can use animation, we can use cartoons to basically illustrate for kids to pick up on this, and adults. Some adults can still be taught. But it amazed me so that on banned books in this current climate now, that you have so many parents in different school systems who are looking at this list of books and going, I don't want my child to know this. Why? Because the biggest bans on that book list, who those books are banned by? People of color and LGBTQ plus authors. I will never understand how To Kill a Mockingbird is banned. The book is about racism. Yes, that's the entire point of the book. Or Of Mice and Men, Catcher in the Rye, The Hobbit. Well, it's witchcraft. It's fantasy. I mean, nobody, and let me shut up. I was gonna say nobody goes to the Bible and points that out as fiction. But I was like, that's gonna get me in trouble. But the point I'm making is just that he makes a solid point that without those experiences, without that level of just acceptance, we're going to keep constantly having the situation that we have right now. But my explanation, but if there's a child or a young adult that's listening to this podcast, again, read every book that they ban. If they ban that book, that means that they're afraid of you learning something. They're afraid of things changing for the better. And that's why I always say it's amazing when they say they want to ban books. We are literally one step away from Fahrenheit 451, which again, if you don't know what Fahrenheit 451 is, go read it. You might find out we have a lot more in common with that book than we do with 1984 right now. That also being said, guys, I do want to get to the federal interest, to the interest rates, because guess what, guys? If you already thought the fact of your interest rates on your car, mortgage, credit cards, things of that nature was paying the butt, I've got some bad news for you.
Inflation. The Federal Reserve is expected to raise interest rates again this week as prices, we know, show no sign of falling. Chief Economics Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis is at the New York Stock Exchange this morning with what this all means for your bottom line. Rebecca, good morning.
Good morning, Marion. It has very significant implications for everyone's money. The Fed begins its two-day meeting today. By tomorrow, it's expected to hike interest rates again. So what does that mean in real terms? Well, for your credit card, if you're carrying a $5,000 balance, your rate has already gone up dramatically this year, costing you about $870 more in interest. If the Fed does, as expected, hiking interest rates tomorrow by 75 basis points, that amount balloons to $1,161. For your mortgage, for a new mortgage, it will also cost you more. If you take a look at a $300,000 mortgage, about a month ago, that would have cost you a monthly rate about $1,700. Now, with the Fed hiking interest rates and the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage above 6%, that same mortgage costs you about $1,850 a month. The same is true for other loans. Guys, where you do get paid a little more is on your savings account.
Yeah, well, at least there's some good news. Your savings account get a little bit more. Again, guys, this isn't surprising. This isn't surprising that as inflation keeps going up, because again, nobody just seems to address the whole thing of everything goes up but your paycheck. Your paycheck is getting strained and strained unless you're on the more well-off side. And I do mean the more well-off side. You know who you are. I'm not talking about those two people that just came forward to claim that $1.34 billion jackpot that happened not too long ago. I'm not talking about those two people. Although I have to assume those two people are going to be very well off for the rest of their days. But the point I'm making is, if you're not well off, yeah, we got to make ends meet. Some of us are taking on additional jobs, even in a two-person income household. Everything's going up by your paycheck. But it's amazing to me how that's never addressed. I kept saying the entire time, Biden and Democrats could literally turn around and make the midterm elections look like the greatest political ass whooping in modern history. But they do certain things. Make marijuana legal. Decriminalize marijuana. Landslide. Could have passed the Voting Rights Act. Failed in doing so. Could have raised the minimum wage beyond $15 because realistically it needs to be somewhere between $24 to $26 an hour now. Failed to do that because we're somehow happy with $7.29 because businesses are claiming that they cannot pay it. Here's my thing as a business, and I still say this to this day: if you have employees and you cannot pay them a livable wage, you should not be a business. Point blank, period. I mean, if you're a business, you have PPP loans. You had PPP loans that were given out and forgiven faster than student loan debt. But if you're still a small business owner and you're complaining that you cannot pay your workers living wage, you either should not have workers or you should not be in business. But again, Biden failed to get the minimum wage increased. And it amazes me so that because the income of individuals hasn't changed, but the prices of everything else has gone up, but corporate profits have increased in a pandemic situation. It's the reason why the feds are looking at this and going, well, let's raise the interest rates so that way we can slow down inflation. You know how you can also slow down inflation? You know how you can also slow down inflation? Turn around and actually do minimum wage increases. I guarantee it will solve problems. When people are paid more, they spend more. Historically, that's how it's always been. When you give Americans more money, they spend more. If Americans spend more in this capitalist economy that we're running off of, would do better. But for some odd reason, we're tending more to corporate profits than we are to people's paychecks. And if that's the case, this isn't going to be the only time within a few months, because you got to remember, the feds did hike up the rate literally just over 3 months ago. It's been 3 months ago since we saw another increase in the interest rate. We are probably bound to see one more again as long as we keep bending toward corporate profits, because the whole thing of, the job creators, the rich people giving all the tax breaks, and they'll take care of everything else, trickle down economics is bullshit. I said it once, I'll say it again. If there's anything Ronald Reagan was able to do, Ronald Reagan laid the groundwork to what led to what we have as far as the debt, the massive deficit that we have now. He laid the groundwork for it. I mean, yeah, other people may have added tint to that fire. He's the one that dug the pit. That's all I'm saying. But moving right along, guys, we're going to get to our feel-good segment, because usually on the Frack got here, we do cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom and sometimes make you lose your faith in humanity. But hey, it's Wednesday, hump day. For a lot of us, that tomorrow is being Friday Eve, which is Thursday. We want to leave you guys out with some good vibes, and hopefully this story about what this man has done will do certainly just that.
Sometime between yesterday and this morning, I crossed over the 400-mile mark.
Ken Johnston is a walking artist from Philadelphia, and he's walking to honor Harriet Tubman and others by retracing the walk to freedom on the Underground Railroad route.
This journey is to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Harriet Tubman's birthday.
A journey he started in December 2019 in Maryland, a place Tubman traveled to rescue her brothers.
It was supposed to be kind of a low-key walk, but then her story just kind of overwhelmed me, and after completing the first 140 miles to Philadelphia, I wanted to keep going. And that's what she said. If you want a taste of freedom, just keep going.
COVID put the brakes on the walk, but in 2021, he walked from Philly to New York City. And this year, on July 14th, he resumed the final leg.
From Harlem, where there is a Harriet Tubman Memorial statue.
This is Ken walking in Rochester. He made it to Buffalo with a clear sign on his back. He's going from New York to Canada.
This was that endpoint of that corridor to freedom. Free Black community that was here at that time during the 1850s, when she would have been traveling through this area, welcomed her and assisted her and her passengers.
Welcome, the mural where we met, ironically painted by his brother. Tubman was often called Black Moses for leading people out of slavery. The famed abolitionist face will eventually be on $20 bills. History, with a stamp right here in Buffalo. And Ken Johnston is soaking it all in and educating along the way.
I hope to just continue telling the story of what it felt like for the soul of souls that came this way, what it felt like, the sensory experience under their feet, however they traveled here.
His journey ends in an area where Tubman and others found freedom.
Salem Baptist Church that Harriet Tubman attended in St. Catherine, Ontario.
Claudine Ewing, Channel.
It's amazing, isn't it? The one thing I'd love to say so much about history, know your history. Know it. It's a beautiful thing, especially with the fact of the matter that a man is literally walking the trail that ancestors before him walked, and the fact that he's educating people about it. I mean, like I said, if I say it all the time at the end of my podcast, if we do not learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. I'm not the first person to say it. I certainly won't be the last. But that's going to do it for this podcast, guys. I do thank everybody for liking, for watching, for letting people know this is live. I certainly appreciate that. Before I do get out of here, guys, some shameless plugs as usual. Let me first shout out to my friend, Big Vaughn, Big VZ on all socials, Vaughn Westbrook on Facebook. Definitely check out him, especially on TikTok, because he's got his What is Big VZ Thinking, as well as his beats that he's as he's producing, not as he's reproducing, but as he's producing. If you like a beat, let him know about it. He might sell it to you, but definitely check him out. Big VZ on all socials, of course, Vaughn Westbrook on Facebook. As far as yours truly, guys, on all socials, I'm BlackFox447. Definitely like and follow me there, as I usually post a lot of things that I review and also some gem stuff, because I do a couple push-ups. Also, I'm about encouraging individuals. Again, we have been too long because of COVID and stuff has kept us cooped up, isolated, and whatnot. But again, my whole thing I have right now, and I'm on the Mr. Rogers tip, be kind. I'm not asking you to sit there and be full-on good Samaritans. I'm asking you to simply be kind to one another, especially brothers. Brothers, say hi to each other. Head nod, something. I can't tell you how many times I get tired of me. I mean, We don't have to mean mug each other, but we can at least, how you doing? How's it going? At least do that. I'm not asking, like I said, not asking to be full on good Samaritans, but just be freaking decent. That's all I'm asking. It takes zero energy to be nice. It takes 100% of your own energy to be a dick. So don't be a dick. That's all I'm saying. Of course, the tracker that you see at the bottom, guys, let me make that just a little bit bigger. If you copy and paste that into your browser, we'll take you to my link tree that has the YouTube, Facebook, and YouTube, Facebook groups. That did not end well. That was a terrible segue. It has the YouTube and Facebook groups for all of my podcasts. How the Frack got here and get been, of course, on this podcast. Definitely like, share, follow. As I'm growing these podcasts, let me know what you guys are thinking about. Also your opinions on everything that we discussed. I want to continue the conversation, so definitely click on that link. Let me know what you guys think. That's all I'm asking. But as we wrap this up, guys, again, COVID is real. We are still in a pandemic area. No matter what Joe says, the pandemic is not over. As long as coronavirus is out there and its many variants, along with monkeypox and its Decepticons, we are not out of this pandemic yet. So if you're going to be in an area that has a lot of foot traffic, please wear a mask. Protect yourself. If you're feeling sick, stay at home. Don't chance it. Don't risk it. No job is worth that. When you protect yourself, you protect others. And that's how we're going to get through this. But we all have to do our part. The last thing I'll say about that, Frack, we got here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the information, allowing you to make up your own mind for yourself, but providing a logical perspective that goes along with it. We do a lot better in society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past by making decisions now that we should have done back then, like electing our first black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first black woman to the Federal Board of Governors, electing our first black 4-star military general to the armed services. All of that wonderful news. But as I've said before, when we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That's why we keep asking ourselves, why does everything go up by our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians but still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, how the Frack we got here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves and each other. We will all get through this.